Welcome back. Here we are again for another episode of Not for Sunday Mornings, and I'm here with my usual co-host Steve, and we have a guest today.
We do.
Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Daniel. Yeah, I'm
Hey,
here.
Daniel.
Off to a roaring start.
Yeah, this is going to be a great one.
Oh, Lordy.
So
Buckle in.
Steve and I both were off this week, and Daniel preached instead. And so Daniel, you talked about Miriam.
I sure did.
I apologize in advance that you got stuck with the hardest one out of all of them, but
What?
Yeah, you know it. Come on.
I disagree.
Okay.
That's all.
Fine.
I just
I just want to disagree.
No, I disagree. Yeah. The hardest one.
There's not a lot on her. Like, I mean, there's a few blurbs here and there, right?
I think there's a lot.
think?
Yeah, I think so.
I forgot when we were originally talking about it. Like, I totally forgot the whole song part.
Oh yeah,
that
that's a big
slipped
part.
My mind. Yeah, it's just a little bit.
But it's
I
often
went,
overlooked.
I went from
mean,
like beginning of Exodus all the way to Numbers, and I'm like, oh, that's all there is about her. Then I realized, when I'm listening to you, and it's like, oh, man, then there's this whole song. I'm like,
yeah.
Oh.
Just a little bit there. Yeah, that's actually when the series was being like planned out, and you're like, hey, is there anyone in there? I saw Miriam, and I was like, oh, worship leader. That'd be a fun one to be able to talk about worship a little bit.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, it was nice because like as you started talking, I'm like, oh, this is definitely fitting for him.
Oh.
Like you took the path. I'm like, oh, he's gonna take the worship path. All right,
Yeah.
that's good to know. Because again, I had forgotten the whole worship
Yeah.
song. So, but
I love
anyways,
it.
so what'd you think, Steve?
I liked it. I liked the being reminded that she was there at the beginning when he was born, and then also passing through the Red Sea was pretty clever. I thought a neat little reminder. I really like that part. Yeah. I got a lot of questions, but we can wait on those. So
Yeah, I enjoyed it too. I liked how you opened and closed with children's stories.
Yeah, I didn't know we were allowed to do that. We just read from a book.
I wasn't sure if we were allowed to do that.
25% of the sermon is him reading a book. Like, we can do that?
Yeah, I know. After that, I'm like, oh, I just wrote my sermon.
right
It's
there.
like 2 paragraphs and then reading from a book. I got it.
Oh, my
That's pretty
goodness.
awesome. Like, dang.
Felt
yeah.
like
That
I
was
wasn't
clever.
sure the whole time. I even during the Sunday morning, I was like, I don't know if this is a good idea.
Yeah, that was
Is
probably a
this
good thought.
allowed? Is it?
Just leaned in.
No, I thought it was cool. I thought it was neat.
No, it was great. I did, and I enjoyed the picture. Like, so I had to watch it online because I was out of town this week, and so the opening picture was really pretty of the crossing, and then the camera just briefly kind of from a distance caught the pictures in the book, so it was kind of fun too.
Oh,
But,
nice.
That was cool. That was cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. What about you? What did you like from the sermon?
Well, like I said, I love the readings of the stories in the beginning and the end, and like that nice little tie together of bringing that idea of the water back in. It was interesting. It was just not the way I was thinking of Miriam when I was originally thinking of that process, and then, but to show her in that tie-in with the water was really kind of a cool idea, and how it really defined her, because like I think like there's a Midrashian story about her in a well in the desert that is a really big one too, and so those ideas of water.
There's another one in Numbers 20. Miriam, she dies. Spoiler alert.
Oh, what?
man.
Wait, what? you gotta offer that up first.
Sorry. So she in Numbers 20, she dies. They bury her, and then there's this another water scene where the Israelites are thirsty. God tells him to go speak to a rock. He hits a rock, and water comes out, and then that like disqualifies Moses from going into the promised land.
yeah.
So it was interesting that like these 2 water crossings, Miriam's at, she dies, and then there's this other water story. Coincidence? I don't know. It was kind of poetic though.
No, I agree. There's always nice little capstones and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Capstone. That's a big word.
Thank you.
I don't know what that means.
I also heard that a big word for you was disingenuous.
No, delusional.
Oh, delusional. Oh, okay.
Yeah, which is what this podcast feels like. So what didn't make the sermon?
A handful of things, right? That Numbers 20 story was one of the things. It just didn't quite fit. There was the Red Sea. We didn't really ever like deal with the story at all, and like the violence that's in there, right? All the Egyptians first service, and it's a kid's book I was reading.
Yes, it was.
And
Yeah.
first service, there's a line that I meant to skip over.
Yeah, I think you read it. Yeah, yeah.
First service, I read it. Second service, I stopped myself. But it was like the Israelites saw the Egyptians' dead bodies on the shore or something like that. And
Okay.
first service,
That was in a kid's book?
Yeah. And I see some kids in the front row, and I'm like, I started the sentence like, I'm,
The vile
Too
rotting
late.
corpses washed
Yeah.
washing upon the shore.
but it didn't seem like there was time, or really like the direction of the sermon wasn't really going towards that wrestling. But it was a neat, yeah. There's a lot of things with that are hard to deal with, but also like if you think about like kind of poetic is a really weird word to use with the violence and the death and that, but like Pharaoh's order to throw all the Hebrew boys into the Nile
Oh, yeah.
to their death,
Yeah.
and then here is the Exodus, and what happens to the Egyptians? The water consumes them. So like,
Yeah.
there's a little bit of
I've never thought about that.
yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah. Well, I read
yeah.
that in a commentary,
Oh,
so
okay. We just pass those off as our ideas
No,
on
we
the
do
show.
not. I cite my sources.
oh man.
You don't. Hard to cite ChatGPT.
That's true, it is.
Man. Oh, man.
No, I cite the midrash and
Yeah,
everything
yeah.
when I go into it.
Yep, I know. That's all
Yeah,
you're talking
okay,
about.
whatever. All right. Anyways, what else got left out?
The one other main thing was Numbers 12, where Miriam challenges Moses, and verse, I pulled it up here, verse 2. Numbers 12, verse 2, has the Lord spoken only through Moses? They asked. Hasn't he also spoken through us? And the Lord heard this, and there's like this. It's a very interesting passage, and I could get in trouble for saying this, but I read some of what Moses does, and I'm like, this could just be like a crazy man, like fooling a bunch of people. Like the things he goes up to a mountain and then comes back. You know, like there's a lot of things. Like I think as Christians, we it's important to wrestle with that, but like recognizing that this is the Bible, and you know, like. But anyway, all of that. But then verse 3, then it says. Verse 9, the anger of the Lord burned against them and he left them. And like that verse just haunts me. Like, what does it feel like to feel the presence of God leave? But anyway, so Miriam challenges Moses' leadership, and because of that, she gets leprosy. Her skin becomes pale, and Aaron says, I forget, I didn't write this verse down, but he's like a stillborn baby with its like flesh being half eaten. Like this is what Miriam looked like. And
Yeah. Do you want me to read it?
oh sure, yeah, you have it up.
Yeah. Please don't let her be like a dead baby whose flesh is half eaten away when he comes out of his mother's womb.
Yeah. It's very like very graphic, and in a very very clearly like, hey, she messed up, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
she should not have done what she did. And it is Miriam and Aaron, but then Miriam, we don't hear from her in the rest of Numbers 12, but Aaron cries out for mercy on her behalf, and then Moses
And
hears
Moses,
this, and Moses cries out to God, and in this reconciliation that happens, in this, like, I call it forgiveness, Miriam still has to leave the camp, even though she's a leader, even though she's a prophet, even though she's all of these things, she still has to leave for 7 days because she's unclean. Like,
Right.
It's a neat ordering of the people, right? Like no matter what standing you have, like the rules apply to everybody. But anyway, that's a story that would have been fun to, like, probably a whole sermon could have been on just that alone. But
Why didn't that make the sermon?
that's a good question. As I was digging into Miriam, those two bookending stories seem to be the story arc that was kind of going through with God's in control and all of that. So I had a longer section about Numbers 12, but this is probably the wrong answer, but just time.
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
that's why it's not for Sunday
Yeah.
mornings, because
Yeah.
sometimes it is time.
Chris ignores that. He just goes and
Well, yeah.
time is irrelevant to him, and
Because most of the time when I preach, Steve's not here to criticize me until later, so it's all right.
Well,
people fall asleep.
Einstein says
Awesome.
time is relative, right?
That's
Yeah,
true.
sure. Yeah.
Just kind of on that story, because it was one I've always found interesting, because it opens up with the fact that Miriam and Aaron are criticizing Moses' wife who was a Cushite woman.
Ethiopian.
Yeah. And so I just found that interesting. And then the other part interesting in that story too, I don't know if you have commentary on either one, but was that only Miriam gets stricken down with leprosy
right.
and not Aaron. So
I did find that interesting, and I was like, because in the beginning, Miriam and Aaron, and then in verse 2 it says they asked, they did this together.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I was digging into the in the original language, it's a feminine, grammatically it's feminine. I'm not good at grammar, but like adjectives or whatever. Those as they describe it, they're using the feminine word, so that's why.
So it's really just Miriam that's doing it.
Miriam probably headed it up and pulled Aaron alongside of her, and they did it together. But it probably
But she was the leader of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was reading a commentary that talked about like the Ethiopian, like Moses' wife would have had darker skin. And like, is there a racial element to that? And
I've heard that before in the past.
Yeah.
But I don't know, like, because it doesn't say what they're criticizing her about. And so it just is like, they're just criticizing.
And it could, I mean, in the beginning of Exodus, Moses marries someone who is not Ethiopian.
Right,
so like,
yes.
is she criticizing that he has another wife, or did the other wife pass? I mean, we don't know.
We don't know that story.
But, there's a lot.
Because he had 2 kids with the other woman.
Yeah.
So, that we know of. Yeah.
It's interesting.
That's cool. Well, one of the things you talked about was you mentioned Miriam spending 40 years as a slave while Moses lived in privilege. And so a question I have is, how do you think trust in God can be maintained when life feels deeply unfair like that?
I think that's the end of the podcast. No.
See what I mean?
That's a really good question.
Now
I
you know
mean,
what it's like to sit
honestly,
on this table.
Well, I mean, what's the point of doing this? If
No,
we-
you're right.
No, it's so
Yeah,
good. That was
like,
such
I mean,
a
like,
good question.
I mean, that sucks.
My
Her
goodness.
watching her brother
Yeah.
eat caviar and she's
Right.
eating a brick.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
But she's trusted God throughout, it seems to be.
Right.
Yeah, well, I mean, my thought on that is that
Sure,
she's...
answer it for him.
Okay, no. Is that how... I thought... those were just yeses, not a... Yes, I agree, eating a brick. Oh.
Yeah. No, I think that's the hard thing. Like, it's easy to say trust God, right? Like from somebody who is so far removed, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. I don't know. Obviously, Moses' story develops, right? He kills the Egyptian and then goes away, but like, anyway, there's a lot to his story. But yeah, like, what toll does that take on you? You're getting whipped. You're waking up at the crack of dawn. Like, yeah. I don't know. It's the hard part is we know that happened, but we don't see her in that period.
Yeah, but so real life, guy gets cancer, Christian his whole life, all of a sudden, I mean, how do you trust God in the middle of all that? I mean, life's unfair. My dad gets this rare disease. He can't walk anymore. He's 60 years old and followed God his whole life. I mean, and it's like, oh, here we go.
I wonder if partially, though, for her is that it's not just her, right? Her community is all going through that. And so you have that solidarity with your community. How much does she think about her brother, in that position too? Like, what we learn that as he gets older and the mother brings him to the Pharaoh's daughter, and that's pretty much the end of it. Like,
but come on, like, how if you knew that was your brother, and you're seeing like the dude living in a palace.
True, but we also don't know that. I mean, he's bold enough to go and strike down an Egyptian for hitting an Israelite, which we can assume is based off, like, he knows he's an Israelite, right? He's Hebrew, and so, like, we can assume he's doing that because you're hurting, like, whatever wells up in him at that moment. Because how many times did he see that beforehand? How many times did the Pharaoh get mad at a servant? How many times even did his adoptive mother get mad at a servant, right? We can assume that he's seen this, so what brings up the rage in him enough to hit someone to kill him? Right?
What does that have to do with Miriam?
Well, so the question is, the question is, does he see that injustice up to that point? And so we don't know if he's sneaking out of the palace on a regular basis and bringing extra food to them.
That you're reading too much into scripture there.
Well, there's nothing in the scripture.
I know,
to
but
read.
I'm
just asking, like, but if we're looking at
he
the
also
human,
he
condition,
also could have been in a UFO and
he
flew
could
to
have the Pharaoh. But the Pharaohist could have. We know the Pharaohist took pity on him.
Right.
We know that she allowed, like, maybe because his mother acted as a nursemaid to Moses, may have found favor in there. Maybe she didn't go through as much of the slavery. I don't know. I'm just trying to piece together what parts of the story we have.
But going back to the question of like as a Christian in 2025.
Well, yeah, that's a totally different question. Yeah,
that's the question I asked though. So
I was focused on the slavery aspect.
This Alani is kicking in.
Yeah, I can tell. That and the Mountain Dew that you had earlier.
I forgot about that one.
Yeah. No, I think, how do you stay faithful to God, like in any time of trouble, right? I think.
How can trust in God be maintained when life feels unfair?
I think part of it is in our hearts. I think there's that peace that passes all understanding, and I think that can help us individually. I don't know that everyone feels that at all points, but I think that definitely is a mode that's indescribable unless you feel it, that brings us through that time. I think the other part is faith, right? Like look at other people's faith journeys in the Bible, right? Most people have a hard time about something. Like all the heroes in the Bible have a hard time. I mean, Moses gets depressed at one point, right? How does he continue on at that? I mean, he's literally told, you're never going to see paradise, right? How do you continue on after that? And there's just this idea of like, he's convened with the one true God, right? Like he knows he exists. I think there's still hope in that idea. So I think the idea that with Miriam, maybe at that point she's not 100%, but she's got enough hope to realize like there's the promise that was promised to Jacob. So I can live off of that.
And for me personally, like I think about moments where I felt life be unfair. I'd cry out to God in anger and in frustration and realness. Like this sucks and this is unfair. And God, where are you, God? I mean, I being real. Like I've had many inappropriate conversations where anger is kicking over, and I mean later I had to apologize and whatnot. But just being real in pain and like this isn't fair. But to be able to be real before Him and to cry out, but then not to run away, I think is part.
Well,
of
I think that's what makes Him the best God is that you can be real with them and that you can have those conversations with them. It's not going to hurt them to have those conversations. And I think the fact that Christ came and lived among us and was human like us and understood those things, I think helps too, because now when we do have those moments where we do lash out, where we are angry about things, I think it's understood.
Yeah, I think when we think about life being unfair, who would better understand an unfair life than Christ, right? Here's a guy who, again, is lied about and denied by his friends and left alone, and and
I mean from the beginning, right? Like Herod tries to kill him, he has to flee to another country, he has to come back. Like I mean,
and in that moment where I find realness is in the garden where he says, "Take this cup from me."
Yeah,
where, and again, I think there's a semicolon there. I think lasts for a long time, and where he's wrestling with that, and begging God to take it. And then finally,
I don't see how he couldn't, like in all honesty, because even like when he's on the cross and he cries out, my God, why have you forsaken me? Like there's realism in there. Like, I mean, Christ, who knows God, who knows what the plan is and is willing to go through with it, still feels forsaken.
Yeah. So another question. Oh, you go. No. Don't get off.
Have to keep on.
Keep going.
Okay.
Yeah, keep going.
Well, I think that's where like hope and faith. Like I feel like trust in God is where hope and faith meet, right? Like I have faith, I have hope. Like, but I think what you were kind of saying there with like lament, like I don't think the church, not Lincoln Way, but like capital C,
100%.
The church, let's call it the Western Church, doesn't do a really good job with like giving a holistic understanding of spiritual formation, and then like like lament, like what you just said there, right? Like the word lament comes from that Greek word that's just like how, right? Like how long, O Lord? How can you let this happen? How? And like a lot of times, like if you listen to positive, encouraging K-Love, like it's all like God is good, we're great, like we're happy no matter what, and like that's great. But I think it's a little delusional. Like there's a lot of hard things in our world, a lot of hard things that we have to go through, and that understanding lament and using that as a way to navigate those trying times.
Yeah, one of my most frustrating things are people that are, to avoid the hard stuff, just say, well, I'll pray harder, or I'll pray for you, or like just give some cookie cutter generic dumb answer that doesn't help at all. Where really it's like, be real, cry out, lament.
100%. And people forget that there's a whole book based on that.
Lamentations.
Like, Lamentations. Like
2/3 of Psalms or 1/3 of Psalms.
Yeah.
2/3.
Oh my gosh, there's some heartbreaking ones in there. Like, I mean, literally, like when you read through them and you see like, there's one like what a sin, like just calls out. I think David's writing it, but writes out and calls out like what a sinner, and like how my enemy's arrows are piercing my flesh, and like my bones are rotten, and like I mean like.
Well, that's like this podcast for me is one big lament. Yeah. Anyways, okay. I love that you talked about worship, because with your role as a worship a pastor here, you said if the reason behind the worship is wrong, then the worship itself is off. So how do you, in your role, personally assess whether a worship moment is centered on God rather than people's preferences?
That's a good question.
That is a really good question.
Well, I thought because you would have a
no, and I don't know if there's a good answer other than continually monitoring that, right? Like I go back to a couple like foundational verses, like 1 Corinthians 8:1 says like knowledge puffs up or love builds up. Like, am I in a worship role feeling really puffed up about what I quote unquote accomplished, right, during a service or something? And recently I've been using this phrase, we don't teach for knowledge, we teach for obedience. And like I think that is like the heart of it, like because in a worship role, specifically in like churches like ours, right, we're on a stage where there's lights on us, we talk about this all the time, right? Like,
all the time.
It's hard not to make it about yourself, but like, am I getting puffed up? Am I building up? And in that idea of, is this all helping people walk in obedience, or am I just like trying to show off my knowledge?
So explain that to me. Is knowledge or obedience? How did you say that?
We want to teach we don't want to teach for knowledge's sake alone. We want to teach for obedience, right?
So what does that mean?
Yeah, like I can tell you Greek words and be really clever and all of that, but like is that helping the person in the congregation faithfully follow?
So is that being more practical in your teaching, or more
probably, right? Okay. Yeah. Like, what does it mean to be obedient?
How do you put this in place?
Okay.
And so an application.
Yeah. And I think, I like to visualize this on an audio podcast.
We
do have a video.
We're all over YouTube. We're all over Spotify. We're blowing up.
Yeah. I think of it as a fence post, right? Like if this is if this is the ground right here, like this is the expression of worship. This is the what, and that doesn't matter.
And that's the upward fence post for those of you that are listening.
The one sticking above the ground.
Sticking above the ground. But then below that you have the why, or the how, the methods, right? Or this is how we do this, and below that on this great fence post, the very foundation is the why, the rationale. So like a lot of times we care about the what because that's what we see, but if we're only focused on that, so like I know I fail regularly at all of this. It sounds great to say, but like in practice, it's really hard, and I fail regularly. But like I when trying to answer that question, when trying to assess that, and like worship pointed toward God, the what, the why, not the what. Like, are we talking about this? That's fine, but like make sure we're bringing conversation to knowing why we're doing this and the rationale behind it, because I think that's the foundation to build up the how. Okay, this is how we're going to be doing this. Okay, then this is what it looks like.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I think for me, being real too, like I'm never 100% anything. We talked a little bit about this. Like when I stand up to speak, 90% of me is because I really want people to learn more about God and connect with Jesus. Of course, all that. But there's probably 5% that love being on stage and 5% that like people looking at me.
Well,
I mean, I'm being
so real.
I'm never
Yeah.
100%. We're never 100% about anything.
We
you know,
like
like
looking at you too, Steve. So.
no, mine. Yeah, for Chris, it's 100% looking at me, 0% paying
Hey,
attention.
that's right. Actually, I don't look at you.
No, I know. But I just being
Yeah.
real.
No,
with
no,
it.
you're right. Like there is an aspect of that.
Yeah.
It's hard, like coming from a theater background a little bit. Like it's hard to not.
Oh, you were in theater?
Did I never talk about
I
this?
was about to say that.
I don't know who's listening to what, so. But it's hard to not have like I want the eyes on me,
Yeah.
aspect of it. So
Yeah.
it is a challenge sometimes.
But also
Yeah,
know
I
that
think-
it's there. Like that part's not going to go away
Yeah.
till this side of heaven. It's not that we embrace it,
No,
but it's recognize that that's the reality of where we are. And,
Yeah.
yeah. I love that you talked about remembrance, and you said over 120 times Scripture calls us to remember the Exodus. Why do you think modern Christians struggle with spiritual memory? Or do you think modern Christians struggle with spiritual memory? And if so, or if not, then okay. But if so, why do you think? Or
That's a good question. Yeah. Yeah. I think the answer is yes, we do struggle with spiritual remembrance just because I think that's what it kind of means to be human.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's the reason they wrote about it 120 times because they kept forgetting. Like I don't think that's anything that we can perfect, but that's something that we're continually trying to be shaped in that practice of remembrance. And I forget the other part of your question. I'm sorry.
No, that was it. Like why?
Oh.
Yeah, why do you think modern Christians?
Yeah, I think that's just part of being human, and a lot of times we can get like hyper focused on us and being in America, right? We love individualism,
100%.
but like I think remembrance requires us to see our faith in a communal aspect, right? Like we call each other brothers and sisters for a reason. Like we're on a journey together.
Yeah. But the right now isn't right always, and being reminded of that, I think is. I told this story this week. I've told it before. The rabbis would talk about Israelites crossing the Red Sea and two Israelites complaining to each other about the rocks in their sandals while missing the walls of water beside them. And like we get so caught up with right now that we don't look around and see all the good and all the and God has been faithful in the past, and because the urgency is right now, right? I mean, like a person cuts me off, it's whatever, it's boom, boom, boom,
Well, yeah, and I think like it's for modern day Christians. I think we forget the line that Christ says, like that I came to fulfill the law, not to abolish it, right? And for the Jewish tradition, you have these things written in the law, like you have to remember this, you have to do this, you have to do this, and we live as free people, and it's harder when you live as free people to have that, like. And I think we try it. I think we try it when it comes to things like Easter or Christmas, however secularized they have become in life. But I think we don't focus on those things as much because we just like I agree with all the other points. It's just we lack that as part of our foundation as Christians, I think, because a lot of us don't go back and look at the Old Testament. I will even admit, like, I think up until the last probably 5 years, the Old Testament has just been there.
You didn't know it even existed.
Yeah. I just thought there was the New
what?
Testament. Like, I only had half the Bible. What?
No,
but
Bibles.
Yeah, it's like, oh, that's good. I can read this. No, but I mean, but look how much we have ignored in the past the Old Testament. Like we've taught these stories, or we're taught these stories in Sunday school, but how often did they ever come into church when we grew up, right? And so I think, I think I was inspired probably by Bible Project that the Old Testament was important, and I'm glad for that because it's really been eye opening to realize how important it really is and what it means, and it opens my eyes to those older traditions of memory and like being able to recall, remember that this happened, remember that this happened, and Passover. How many times do they talk about Passover? Or even the Day of Atonement or something like that.
Yeah. I think to remember in our story, I think the longer you're a Christian, the easier it is to forget what God has saved you from
Right.
and like your life prior. And so it's super easy to be judgy of everybody else, and because you've forgotten what God has done in your life. And I think that's, I don't know, constantly being pulled back to that or being reminded of that, or
Yeah, I think that's hard too, depending on when you became a Christian too,
Mm-hmm.
as well. Like I know that was always a conversation that I would have in a small group where there was a guy who didn't come to Christ until he was in his 20s,
Mm-hmm.
and me and another person, we'd always been in the church, and so it's hard sometimes to remember what that's like, or even know that experience.
maybe you've never come to Christ. Do you need to get baptized?
Possibly. No, I have been actually.
Yeah, but did you really know what was happening?
I did when I got baptized. Yeah, I chose to do it.
Good
yeah.
for you.
Yeah.
Good for you. Yeah, you were 2 years old. All right.
10. I was 10 actually.
I'm just giving you a hard
no. But that's a great question. Like what's a good age at that to know what you're actually getting into?
Yeah. Okay, one last question I have for you. So you finished with this practicalness of fixing your eyes on Jesus. You talked about fixing your eyes on Jesus, but how does somebody do that, like on the regular, in a chaotic world where we got kids going to school and dropping off? How can someone, I mean, honestly, practically fix their eyes on Jesus?
Yeah. I mean, where my head goes to right away is worship, right? Like that's one of the best ways to fix our eyes on Jesus. I think being in a faith community that worships.
And so what do you mean by worship? What does that mean?
Yeah.
Like a Sunday morning thing?
Yeah, I mean, I always like to try and pull worship back a little bit, because worship is more than just singing, right? Like worship is anything that reveals our ultimate love. Like you can worship in just as well on the path out back than on a Sunday morning, in my opinion, because God's presence but there is a great thing about being communal and together in worshiping in a communal setting. I think it kind of, I don't know. I think getting back to the practice of gratitude is an easy way to keep our eyes on Jesus, right? Like we have those Kairos moment journals, daily Kairos, and in those you have to write down like 3 things you're thankful for, and it's really easy to just write the same things for me. Like, I'm like, but it challenges me, and it makes me uncomfortable about how hard it is for me to come up with other new things that I'm thankful for. And
Yeah. That's funny for me, similar, but it also forces me to like look at the little things, like the air I breathe. I mean, just stupid things like that I completely take for granted. That when I'm struggling to look for a big thing, it's like you have air, and I love that idea. That's really helpful. Yeah. Yeah. Anything else? So worshiping together, gratitude.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a lot of ways, but those are the 2 things that come to my mind. I don't know.
What about you? I think listening to the Not for Sunday Morning podcast is
It's a great way to worship.
just kidding.
I don't know worshiping what, but worship.
Worshiping something. Cool. That was a fun sermon. I had a fun time with it. Yeah, it was good.
Oh, thank you. It was hard. It was a hard week. Like it was a lot of work. Like sometimes
word flow. Yeah.
Why was it hard?
I think just trying. Miriam is around a lot, but there's a lot of speculation because of those 40 years, and like what I think. It was hard to know what was. We sat down the Wednesday before, and you're like, "What's the big idea?" I'm like, "I still don't know, right?" Like I have these stories, but I still don't know what the big idea was, and just trying to figure out where it should go and what the main idea was, and the big question, and that's how it kind of developed into trusting God and seeing that part through Miriam.
Yeah, I like where it ended. That was fun, trusting with God. Yeah.
That's kind.
Yeah. Well, now you know what. Now you know what time it is for everybody's favorite moment. Hold on. Oh yeah. This is where Chris babbles on.
Ancient scrolls, a name appears so sleek.
So sleek.
Melchizedek, the priest and king, so unique.
All right, we know what time it is. It's time for the Melchizedek
moment.
moment. What do you got for us today?
All right, so this was a little interesting just because I found it interesting. I didn't realize that Miriam is brought back up in Micah.
6:4.
Yeah, so when you brought that in, like I was really intrigued by that, and it kind of reminded me a little bit about Melchizedek and made me think a little bit about it, because she kind of like there's not a lot about her, right? She's got her story in the river. She got her poem that she writes, right, and her song that she writes, and then her sin, however you want to look at that, and then her death essentially, and then kind of goes from that. But Melchizedek, it's like if you're reading through the Old Testament, you get to that book of Micah, and it's like all of a sudden she's there again, and it kind of reminds me a little bit like just that idea that Melchizedek just appears out of nowhere, right? He's in this little story here in Genesis, and then all of a sudden like he's forgotten about all the way up until we get to Hebrews, where it's like he's so important in there. And so there's that idea that Miriam was so important. Like we don't think of her as important, right? But she's important enough to be listed alongside Aaron and Moses, which I mean, if you really think about those guys, they're huge. And then you have Miriam, and it's like, oh my gosh, how important is she? But same thing with Melchizedek. You get this little 6-line story about him, and then all of a sudden Hebrews it's like, no, this is bigger than you really imagined it to be. So yeah, I thought that Micah part really kind of struck me a little bit on that.
Oh, I love that.
Wow. Very good. Okay. Yeah, I guess so. Next, whatever. I don't even know what you talked about. Next week, you're up. So people can continue to skip church.
Yep, they can continue on their vacations. So we're doing Elijah.
Elijah and Elisha.
Just Elijah.
Oh, okay. You changed it.
No,
right.
I've been telling you this for a while.
I don't think so. That's not what the notes say.
Yeah, well... Yeah,
what
so
wasn't for Sunday morning? Elisha. The other person. Awesome.
Elijah, he actually covers all of First Kings and Second Kings. Like he's got a big chunk in there.
Oh, good.
And so
it'll be a very long sermon.
It'll be a super long sermon. No, we're focusing on a small part of his story and a part that's not really well known. I don't think. I think it'll be interesting. I'm looking forward to it. It's a little bit of a struggle, but it's coming. So
this is the last time you'll be speaking.
Hopefully.
No, I mean
for the summer series, yeah,
for a while,
for sure.
yeah. So it'll be fun. It'll be good to have you send you off, with a bang.
Nice.
Okay, one little update.
Oh yeah, let's get that out there.
We have merch, Not For Sunday Morning T-shirts. You can get them on our website, notforsundaymorning.com. Yeah, hit a little button, and I think we'll probably put it somewhere else too. But you can hit a little button, and then you can buy a shirt. So
yeah,
they're pretty cool.
We showed the logo last week.
We
right?
did.
Yeah, so it'll be
pretty cool.
Fun.
Yeah, they're pretty cool.
We
make no money off them. I think they're like $20. I don't know, but it's just a cool little thing. So if you want to get a shirt, wear it around. People ask you about it.
For the two of you that watch the show and want to show like that, other people you watch our show.
If I see you wearing the shirt, I will give you $10.
Wow.
No, I will not. I'll give you something.
Will you sign their shirts for them?
No, I will not sign shirts. All right, that's everything, right?
I think so, yeah. So thanks for listening. Smash that like button and subscribe. And
loser. All right, see you guys next week.
Yeah, I'm a loser until I forget to say that.
It's Chris and Steve with the mic in hand, digging through truths that don't quite land. The bits and pieces that didn't get said, from the pulpit to the podcast instead. Not for Sunday mornings, no halos here. We're breaking it down with a laugh and a cheer. Knowledge nuggets flying wild and free. Welcome to the chaos, grab your coffee.